Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to the live reading from Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, the sages of Naimisharanya. We are going to start the reading from chapter 5, instructions by the great sage Narada. Narada points out the failings in Vyasadev's plans to alleviate the sufferings he saw in his vision. He encourages Vyasadeva to write the Srimad Bhagavatam in order to demonstrate the power of these teachings. He relates the history of his past birth in which he first heard Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 5, verses 1 to 4. Smiling, Narada replied, I divined your discontent, and so I came to you. Filled with gratitude, Vyasadeva confided in his spiritual master. He told Narada about his visions and of the efforts he had made to help people in the Kali Yuga. He also spoke of his dissatisfaction. Narada congratulated him on his accomplishments. You have prepared fine works, including the Mahabharata, which is replete with Vedic knowledge. By studying your scholarly compositions, people will learn the best means to attain worldly happiness and liberation. Why then are you happy? Chapter 5, verses 5 to 7. Sitting before his teacher, Vyasadeva said, Master, what you say is correct. I have worked hard, but despite this, I am not peaceful. Please tell me the root cause of my discontent. As Lord Brahma's son, you are a man of unlimited knowledge. You are an exalted devotee of Krishna and can travel anywhere in the universe and beyond. You know the inner heart and feelings of all beings just like the Supersoul. Please therefore help me understand my fault and instruct me how to satisfy the Lord. A gentle breeze, this is from Chapter 5, verses 8 to 10 now. A gentle breeze carried the fragrance of tree blossoms, and peacocks uttered their melodic cries as the two great sages spoke together. Pleased with Vyasadev's humility, Narada said, Although you have fully explained the four great aims of life, religious duty, economic development, sense pleasure, and liberation, as we know, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. These pertain to the body and mind and cannot satisfy the soul. You have not described Krishna's pure and transcendental glories, which alone can make people happy. Any literature bereft of such descriptions is useless. Vyasadeva bowed his head in acquiescence. This is what he had suspected. Narada had immediately identified the problem. So this is where we all need the bona fide spiritual master, because they can take our doubts away and they can guide us. Chapter 5, verse 11. Write a literature that only glorifies the name, fame, forms, pastimes, qualities, and associates of the unlimited Supreme Lord. Advised Narada. Superior to all other Vedas, this will have the potency to transform the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. To stress his point, Narada said, My dear disciple, glorification of the Lord is so powerful that even if imperfectly composed, it will still be appreciated by the great scholars who are thoroughly honest. Vyasadeva was impressed. Normally, if there were grammatical errors in a work, it would be rejected by scholars. Chapter 5, verse 12. Still he had misgivings. What though of the sinful? I doubt they will be interested to hear about Krishna. Do I not first need to teach them piety before they will become amenable to the Krishna service? Narad shook his head. Even if you teach people how to satisfy their material desires religiously, they will still suffer. The only time work in this world does not cause misery is when its fruit is offered for Krishna's pleasure. Vyasadeva nodded in understanding. This was true. No matter how materially prosperous a person becomes, he will not be satisfied. What though of liberation? He asked, should I not teach them how to attain salvation before instructing them in devotional topics? Narad replied, if they do not awaken their attraction to Krishna and engage in his loving service, then if they become liberated, they will again fall down to the material enjoyment. Vyasadeva knew Narad was right. The soul is pleasure-seeking. As long as one does not experience the unlimited joy of loving exchanges with Krishna, he will again seek happiness in material pursuits. Vyasadeva accepted that he needed to clarify present Krishna's pastimes. This would be a challenge as they were deeply esoteric and easily misunderstood. Chapter 5, verse 13. Seeing the anxiety on his disciple's face, Narad encouraged him. You are a man of impeccable character and firm determination. You are also completely truthful. Therefore, meditate on Krishna and he will reveal to you those pastimes of his which you should write about. Vyasadeva was still unsure. Would materialists have the patience or inclination to read a book exclusively about Krishna's pastimes? Disclosing this doubt to Narad, he said, I wrote the Mahabharata and other works so people could hear Krishna's glories, but I first presented material happiness to draw them in. Is this not required for worldly minded people? Chapter 5, verses 14 to 15. Narad firmly shook his head. You have committed a serious mistake. This is surely condemned. People are already inclined to sense gratification. By instructing them how to enjoy piously, they will think you are endorsing material enjoyment and will soon neglect the prohibitions. Thus, even while trying to help them, you only render them a great harm. You must write a literature that directly glorifies Krishna. Anything other than this will only agitate the mind as the wind tosses a boat on a lake. Who in this dark age will read a book that only glorifies God? Vyasadeva objected. Chapter 5, verse 16, Narad said, in Kali Yuga there will still be discerning people who will appreciate how only devotion to the Supreme Lord can satisfy us. They will benefit from your book and then encourage and help others to follow their example. Chapter 5, verse 17, surely even they require training in the social and moral principles governing material life, argued Vyasadeva. Otherwise, they are likely to commit sins which will impede their advancement in devotional service to Krishna. Narada disagreed. If a person worships Krishna, he may sometimes inadvertently act in a socially or morally inappropriate manner, but there is no danger for him. By Krishna's grace, he will rectify himself and attain spiritual success. On the other hand, even if one meticulously performs all his social and moral duties without worshipping the Lord, he gains no lasting benefit. People have material needs whilst in this world, Vyasadeva insisted. They have desires for family, society, friendship, and love. Do they not need to be shown how to properly satisfy these desires as well? Now from verse 18, chapter 5. Intelligent and thoughtful persons know that even if they achieve heavenly pleasures, they will not be happy. Thus they strive only for divine love, knowing this only can satisfy their heart. Seeing Vyasadeva still uncertain, Narad added, just as material misery comes unsought, so does material happiness. It cannot be changed. We only enjoy or suffer in this life according to the destiny we have created in previous lives. Therefore, better to use this life to attain eternal and lasting happiness in Krishna's association. That is another of my concerns, said Vyasadeva. What if they do not succeed in returning to Krishna in one life, but instead have to take another birth? Should I not therefore teach them how to accumulate piety so that in their next life they are well situated? Chapter 5, verse 19. My dear Vyasadeva, replied Narad, even though Krishna's devotees sometimes take birth again, he does not undergo material existence like others. By Krishna's grace, he will return to devotional service, eager to again experience its sweet taste, which he can never forget. His doubts finally dissipated, Vyasadeva folded his palms together and said, "Thank you, Master. I have no more qualms. I will do as you instruct. Please tell me what I should include in this work." Chapter 5, verses 20 to 21, Narad said, as well as the process of bhakti, you should describe Krishna's unlimited glories, help your readers understand that Krishna is himself the creation, while remaining aloof from it in his original personal form, describe the Gunavatars, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, through whom he creates, maintains and destroys everything. He laughed, "You know all this, for you are the Lord's empowered incarnation. You are thus qualified to present his pastimes for the good of all. Please therefore describe vividly Krishna's divine activities in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam." Vyasadeva felt enlivened by this prospect. Thus, this was what he had so far omitted. What was the value in teaching people how to fulfill their material desires? He must simply focus on describing Krishna's glories and encourage everyone to take up his devotional service for their ultimate good. Chapter 5, verse 22, Narad continued, whatever one hopes to achieve by executing any other work will be accomplished by worshipping Krishna. Indeed, all one's worldly activities should be engaged to spread Krishna's glories, thus they will become devotional service and will be fully successful. Master and disciple sat quietly for a moment. Vyasadeva was already considering how to write his book. He would need to first petition the Lord's grace to guide his intelligence. Narad meanwhile was remembering his own introduction into the Srimad Bhagavatam. He chuckled and Vyasadeva looked at him curiously. "I was recalling my previous life," Narad said. "I had an unfortunate birth, but because I heard the Bhagavatam from 4 liberated saints, I achieved spiritual perfection. This is why I am urging you to write these same teachings to benefit unfortunate souls." Vyasadeva humbly asked his spiritual master to relate the history of his past birth. "In the previous day of Brahma," said Narad, "I was the son of a maid servant." The saint then told his story. Okay, we will continue from here onwards in our next reading session. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat and Hare Krishna.